When you fall in love, there's a magic to it, a glow that lights up your days, a new energy that makes even ordinary moments feel extraordinary. You feel understood, appreciated, and deeply connected. But in the midst of that joy, there's a quiet danger many people don't notice at first: the slow fading of your own identity. At first it seems harmless. You start making small changes to align with your partner's preferences. You eat the food they like, watch the shows they enjoy, rearrange your schedule to match theirs. These adjustments feel like natural acts of love. But slowly, bit by bit, you might begin to neglect the things that make you who you are. The hobbies you once loved gather dust, your personal goals get pushed aside, and your unique voice starts to grow quieter in the relationship. The truth is, the very qualities that drew your partner to you in the first place, your passions, your dreams, your personality, are part of your identity. They are the heartbeat of your life. If you abandon them, you're not only depriving yourself of joy and fulfillment, but you're also removing the spark that brought the relationship to life. Love should never require you to sacrifice your essence. It should encourage you to nurture it. If you lose touch with who you are, you risk becoming emotionally dependent, unsure of your worth without your partner's validation. It's easy to confuse compromise with self-erasure. Compromise is healthy and necessary in love. It's about finding the middle ground where both people's needs are respected. But self-erasure is when you give up so much of yourself that your needs, values, and dreams are no longer visible. This doesn't just hurt you, it hurts the relationship. When one person disappears into the other, the connection becomes unbalanced. One partner carries the weight of being the center, while the other fades into the background, feeling unfulfilled and unseen. Keeping your identity alive means remembering that you are a whole person outside of the relationship. You have a life story that existed before your partner entered it, and that story doesn't end, doesn't cut just because you found someone to share it with. Your friendships still matter. Your personal dreams still matter. Your need for solitude, creativity, and exploration still matters. When you honor those needs, you don't weaken the bond, you strengthen it. You bring freshness into the relationship because you continue to grow as an individual. Imagine a garden where only one plant is watered. Over time, the other plants begin to wither, no matter how beautiful they once were. In love, both partners are like those plants. You can't expect one person to be the sole source of life for the other. You have to water your own roots by doing the things that make you feel alive, by maintaining your self-respect, by pursuing your purpose. This isn't about distancing yourself from your partner. It's about making sure you remain vibrant so the relationship has two strong, flourishing individuals. There's also a deeper reason why keeping your identity alive is so important. Love is dynamic, not static. People grow, change, and evolve over time. If you stop growing, the relationship risks becoming stagnant. But if you keep learning, you're exploring and developing your skills into the partnership. You bring new energy into the partnership. You give your partner new things to admire, new sides of you to discover, and fresh reasons to fall in love with you again and again. Many people fear that focusing on themselves will make them seem selfish or detached, but the opposite is true. When you invest in yourself, you become more confident, more fulfilled, and more capable of giving love freely, without resentment. You no longer depend on your partner for your sense of worth, which means your love comes from a place of abundance rather than need. That's the kind of love that lasts because it's built on choice, not desperation, To keep your identity alive, you must be intentional. That means setting aside time for your own interests, even if it's just an hour a week. It means staying connected to the people who've known you outside of your relationship. It means pursuing your dreams, no matter how small or big they are. And most importantly, it means speaking up for yourself, expressing your opinions, your desires, and your boundaries. Silence might keep the peace for a while, but it erases you little by little. Your voice is part of your identity, and it deserves to be heard. Think about the moments when you feel most alive. Maybe it's painting, writing, hiking, cooking, reading, traveling, or building something with your hands. These aren't just hobbies. They are expressions of your soul. They feed your spirit in ways no relationship, no matter how loving, can replace. If you abandon them, you cut yourself off from a source of happiness that exists independently of anyone else. And when you rely entirely on your partner for that happiness, you put a heavy burden on them, one they can't fully carry. There's also the matter of self-respect. When you value your own life and passions, you show your partner that you are someone worth respecting, not just loving. Respect and attraction go hand in hand. The more you respect yourself, the more your partner will too. And that mutual respect forms a deeper bond than pure or romantic affection ever could. Sometimes keeping your identity alive means making difficult choices. You might have to say no to something your partner wants if it conflicts with your values. You might have to take time apart to focus on personal growth. You might even have to risk tension or disagreement to stand up for yourself. But those moments of courage are the ones that keep you whole. And when you remain whole, you have so much more to offer, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Love without self-loss is about walking side by side, not merging into one indistinguishable shadow. It's about being connected without being consumed, and supportive without being self-sacrificial to the point of emptiness. The healthiest relationships are made of two strong individuals who choose each other every day, not because they can't live without each other, but because their lives are richer together. If you can hold on to who you are while loving deeply, you'll find that the relationship becomes more vibrant, more resilient, and more joyful. You won't just be loving someone else, you'll also be loving the version of yourself that remains alive, inspired, and true. And that, in the end, is the greatest gift you can give to both yourself and the person you love.
In love, it's natural to want to give. You want to see your partner smile, to ease their burdens, to be the safe place they can always turn to. Giving becomes a language of affection, and in the early days, it can feel effortless. You give your time, your energy, your attention, and your heart without thinking twice. But the challenge arises when giving becomes one-sided, when you pour yourself out endlessly while receiving little in return. Over time, this imbalance can turn love into exhaustion, affection into resentment, and connection into dependency. Healthy love is not a competition of who can give more. It's a rhythm, a dance where both partners move in harmony. There's a beauty in giving, but there's also a beauty in allowing yourself to receive. When you allow love to flow in both directions, you create a relationship that is nourishing rather than draining. It's like a well that never runs dry because both people are taking turns filling it. Unfortunately, many people fall into the trap of believing that if they just give more, sacrifice more, or try harder, the relationship will become stronger. But giving without receiving is like watering a plant in a desert without any rain eventually. The soil dries up no matter how much effort you put in. Love needs reciprocity to thrive. Without it, one person becomes the caretaker while the other becomes the center of all attention, creating an unhealthy dependency. True love is about balance. That means sometimes you are the one holding your partner through their struggles, and sometimes they are the one holding you. Sometimes you compromise for their dreams, and sometimes they make room for yours. Balance doesn't mean every act of love is measured and counted. It means both people feel valued, supported, and seen. You shouldn't have to fight for your needs to matter. In healthy love, they already do. It's important to understand that overgiving can be just as damaging as undergiving. When you constantly put your partner's needs above your own, you unintentionally send the message that your needs are less important. Over time, this can set a precedent in the relationship, one where your well-being is secondary, and that becomes the unspoken rule. The longer this dynamic continues, the harder it is to shift. That's why from the very beginning, it's essential to establish the expectation that both partners contribute emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually to the connection. Receiving love requires vulnerability. For some people, it's easier to give than to receive, because receiving means trusting that the other person will show up for you. It means admitting you have needs. But allowing yourself to be cared for is not weakness, it's a form of intimacy. When you receive without guilt or hesitation, you tell your partner, "I trust you with my heart." That trust deepens the bond and makes the relationship a safe place for both of you to lean on each other. There's also an emotional danger in constantly giving without accepting love in return. You start tying your self-worth to your role as the giver. You feel valuable only when you are doing something for your partner. And if for some reason your partner doesn't need as much from you, you might feel lost, unwanted, or insecure. This is why balance matters, because your worth should never depend solely on what you give, but also on who you are and how you are cherished in return. Balance in love also means understanding seasons. There will be times when one of you is struggling more. Maybe they're going through a career setback, a family crisis, or a personal challenge. In those moments, you may naturally give more, and that's okay. But when the roles reverse, the same level of care and understanding should be offered to you. Love is not about keeping score, but it is about mutual respect and mutual effort. You can recognize an imbalanced relationship by asking yourself a few honest questions. Do I feel emotionally supported in the same way I support my partner? Do my needs get attention, or are they often overlooked? Do I feel safe expressing when I'm hurt, tired, or in need? If the answer to these questions leans heavily toward no, it may be a sign that the balance is off. One of the best ways to create this balance is through open, honest communication. Sometimes your partner might not even realize the imbalance exists. If you've been the one constantly giving without expressing your needs, they might assume everything is fine. That's why it's important to speak up, not in accusation, but in vulnerability. Share how you feel, what you need, and how you envision a more mutual exchange of love. Healthy love doesn't just happen by chance. It's built through consistent, intentional effort from both people. It's in the way you show up for each other after a long day, in the way you listen without distraction, in the way you celebrate each other's wins and comfort each other's losses. It's about knowing that some days you'll carry more weight, and some days your partner will, but neither of you is left carrying it alone for too long. When giving and receiving are balanced, you create a partnership where both people can breathe. There's no silent resentment building beneath the surface. There's no one person drained while the other is fulfilled. Instead, there's a steady exchange of energy, affection, and care. It's not always 50/50 in every moment, but over time, it feels equal. You both know that your well-being matters just as much as your partner's, and here's the beautiful truth: when you give from a place of balance, your love becomes more powerful, not less. You're not giving because you're afraid of losing them or because you're trying to prove your worth. You're giving because you genuinely want to, knowing that love will flow back to you when you need it. That kind of love feels safe. It feels free. It feels like home. In the end, balance is what allows love to grow without burning out. It's what keeps both hearts open, both spirits alive, and both individuals thriving together. When you can give without losing yourself and receive without guilt, You create a love that doesn't just survive, it flourishes. In every healthy relationship, there comes a point where you have to define where you end and the other person begins. This isn't about building walls or shutting each other out, it's about creating a clear understanding of what's okay, what's not okay, and how to respect each other's emotional space. Without boundaries, love can easily turn into control, dependence, or even quiet resentment. With boundaries, love becomes a safe place to grow. At the start of a relationship, everything feels new and exciting. You want to be with each other constantly, share every thought, and merge your lives completely. It's natural to crave closeness in those early days, but as time passes, that constant closeness can become suffocating if there's no breathing room. A healthy relationship needs connection, yes, but it also needs space, the kind of space that allows both people to be themselves without fear of judgment or pressure. Boundaries are not rules you impose on your partner. They are guidelines you set for yourself to protect your emotional, mental, and even physical well-being. They are not punishments, they are protections. They keep love from becoming something that drains you. Without them, you risk losing track of your own needs, desires, and identity because the other person's influence begins to override your own. One common misconception about boundaries is that they create distance. People often fear that if they speak up and set limits, their partner will feel rejected or unloved. But in reality, boundaries do the opposite. They protect love from resentment. Imagine constantly agreeing to things you don't want to do, saying yes when you mean no, or ignoring your own feelings to keep the peace. At first, it might seem like you're keeping harmony, but over time, it builds frustration. You start feeling unheard, unvalued, and invisible. That silent frustration is far more damaging than any honest conversation about boundaries could ever be. Healthy boundaries actually make love stronger because they are rooted in mutual respect. When you say, "I can't talk right now, but I'll call you later," you're teaching your partner that your time and energy matter, and you're showing them that you respect theirs as well. When you say, "I need an evening to myself," you're ensuring that you recharge, so when you do spend time together, you're fully present. Boundaries keep the relationship from becoming a constant demand on your emotional resources, and that space helps you both bring your best selves into the connection. It's important to remember that boundaries don't have to be harsh or rigid. They can be communicated with kindness and love. For example, instead of saying, "Stop texting me so much," you might say, "I love hearing from you, but during work hours I can't reply right away. Let's catch up tonight instead." The difference is in the tone and the intention. One pushes away, the other maintains connection while honoring personal limits. Some boundaries are about time and space, but others are about emotional safety. Maybe you have certain topics you're not ready to discuss yet, or personal struggles you're not comfortable sharing in detail. That's okay. A healthy partner will understand that trust is built over time, and they won't pressure you to open up before you're ready. Similarly, you must respect your partner's boundaries in the same way. Boundaries are not just about protecting yourself, they are about creating a safe environment for both people. When boundaries are ignored or disrespected, it can lead to a cycle of conflict. One partner feels smothered or unheard, and the other feels rejected or confused. This cycle can be avoided when boundaries are clear from the start. It's not about testing your partner to see if they'll respect them. It's about calmly and consistently reinforcing them until they become part of the natural rhythm of your relationship. It's also worth noting that boundaries aren't static. They evolve as the relationship grows. In the beginning, you might need more space to maintain your independence, but as trust deepens, you may find you're comfortable sharing more time and vulnerability. Or as life circumstances change, a new job, a move, a family crisis, you may need to adjust your boundaries to protect your emotional health. The key is to keep the conversation open rather than assuming your partner can read your mind. Boundaries also extend beyond the two of you. They involve how you interact with friends, family, and even strangers. For instance, you might have boundaries around how much of your private life is shared with others, or how involved outside opinions can be in your relationship. You might have boundaries around how disagreements are handled, maybe no yelling, no name calling, no bringing up old wounds to win an argument. These guidelines help ensure that even in conflict, respect remains intact. Some people struggle with boundaries because they've been taught that love means selflessness to the point of sacrifice. They believe that saying no is unloving, or that setting limits makes them difficult to be with. But real love doesn't require you to be available 24/7, to give up your privacy, or to tolerate behavior that makes you uncomfortable. In fact, the absence of boundaries often leads to burnout, making you less capable of loving well. Boundaries are the very thing that make long-term love sustainable. If you've never had strong boundaries before, setting them can feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel guilty, worried, or even selfish. But the more you practice, the more you'll realize that boundaries aren't about shutting people out, they're about inviting them in, but on terms that allow the relationship to flourish without either person feeling depleted. Over time, this mutual respect becomes second nature, and your love grows in an environment where both partners feel safe to be fully themselves. In the end, boundaries are not about keeping score or protecting yourself from love. They are about creating the conditions where love can last. They allow two people to come together as whole, healthy individuals without fear of losing themselves in the process. When you have the courage to set and honor your boundaries, you give love a solid foundation to stand on. And love built on respect and understanding is far stronger than love built on constant compromise and silent resentment. There is a truth many people overlook when they enter a relationship: the way you treat yourself sets the standard for how others will treat you. If you constantly put yourself last, if you speak to yourself with criticism instead of kindness, if you neglect your own needs in the name of love, you teach the other person that your well-being is not a priority. And slowly, sometimes without even realizing it, you lose your own voice in the relationship. That's why self-love is not just a nice idea or a popular phrase, it's the very foundation of a healthy, lasting connection. When you love yourself, you are not waiting for your partner to fill an emptiness inside you. You are already whole, already valuable, already enough. That doesn't mean you don't need care, affection, or companionship. It means those things are an addition to your life, not the only source of meaning in it. Love from others feels sweeter when it's not compensating for a lack of love within yourself. It becomes a choice, not a lifeline. Without self-love, relationships can become dangerously unbalanced. You might tolerate disrespect because you believe you don't deserve better. You might stay silent about your feelings because you fear rejection. You might bend so far to meet someone else's expectations that you break yourself in the process. People without a strong sense of self-worth often confuse love with approval, chasing the other person's validation at the expense of their own peace. But real love doesn't require you to shrink. Real love encourages you to grow. Self-love is also what allows you to set and maintain boundaries without guilt. When you know your worth, you no longer feel the need to explain or defend every decision you make to protect your well-being. You understand that saying no to something that harms you is not selfish, it's self-respect. You can say, "This doesn't feel right to me," without fearing that it will make someone stop loving you, because you are no longer dependent on their approval to feel whole. One of the greatest misconceptions is that focusing on yourself in a relationship will make you less giving. In reality, the opposite is true. The more you pour into yourself through rest, hobbies, learning, friendships, and self-care, the more energy and love you have to offer your partner. You can't pour from an empty cup. Self-love keeps your cup full, so you can share from a place of abundance instead of resentment or exhaustion. Think about how you treat someone you truly love. You listen to them, you encourage them, you forgive their mistakes, you celebrate their wins, you give them grace on their bad days. Now imagine treating yourself the same way. Speaking to yourself with that same gentleness, giving yourself room to fail without shame, taking pride in your efforts, not just your achievements. This is what self-love looks like, and when you practice it, it becomes natural to expect and attract love that mirrors it. When you don't love yourself, you are more likely to accept the bare minimum from others. You convince yourself that a little attention is enough, that crumbs of affection count as a feast, but self-love teaches you patience. It tells you, I would rather be alone and at peace than with someone who makes me feel small. That patience prevents you from settling for unhealthy dynamics, and it leaves space for the right kind of love to enter your life, the kind that values you as you are, not just as you are useful to someone else. Self-love also transforms the way you handle conflict. When you value yourself, you no longer fear speaking up because you know that your feelings matter. You can disagree without spiraling into panic about whether the relationship will survive. You can express your needs without apologizing for having them. And when both partners have that level of self-respect, disagreements become opportunities to understand each other better, not battles to determine who matters more. It's important to understand that self-love is not arrogance or selfishness. Arrogance says, I am better than you. Self-love says, I am equal to you. It recognizes that your needs are as valid as your partner's, that your dreams are as worthy of pursuit, and that your well-being is just as important to protect. Self-love allows you to give without losing yourself and to receive without guilt. For many, self-love has to be learned and relearned. Life experiences, childhood wounds, toxic relationships, societal pressures can teach us to doubt ourselves, to see our value only through the eyes of others. Rebuilding self-love is not an overnight process, it's a commitment. It's waking up each day and making small choices that honor your worth, choosing rest when you're exhausted, walking away from conversations that belittle you, keeping promises you make to yourself, surrounding yourself with people who inspire you to be better. And here's the truth, when you truly love yourself, you stop fearing the loss of others. That doesn't mean you want relationships to end, but you understand that you will still be whole if they do. That inner stability frees you to love more openly and fearlessly because you're no longer loving from a place of desperation. You're loving from a place of choice. The right partner will never be threatened by your self-love. In fact, they will admire it. They will encourage you to maintain it because they know it keeps you strong, vibrant, and fulfilled. They will celebrate your independence, not resent it, and you, in turn, will celebrate theirs. Loving without losing yourself starts and ends with this truth. You cannot give away what you do not have. If you want to offer love that is deep, generous, and lasting, you must first give it to yourself. You must know your own worth so deeply that no one else's opinion can erase it. You must protect your own peace so fiercely that no relationship can steal it away. When self-love becomes your foundation, love from others becomes a beautiful addition, not a fragile necessity. And that is the kind of love that doesn't just survive, it thrives. Because it is built on two people who are already whole, already enough, already complete in themselves.